All right, partygoers, welcome back to Zero Dark Nerdy, the galaxy's most infamous and average pop culture podcast, brought to you by the Believe Podcast Network, betonline.ag, of course, our good friends over at Sailfish Comics with three amazing locations here in North Carolina, one in Concord, one in Winston-Salem, and one right here in Greensboro, right across from Best Buy for all your graphic novel, comic book, and action figure needs. Be sure to go see them on Wednesdays for New Comic Book Day. Lots of special events coming up. Of course, we want to thank all of our amazing trivia nights. If you are here in the Triad, whether if you live here or just visiting and you want to come say hi to the Zero Dark Nerdy crew, please be sure to check out our website, popculturepodcast.com, courtesy of Zibster. Right here, homegrown in North Carolina, right in Greensboro. That is Zibster for the most user friendly and best website options on the planet, as well as SEO options. And let's not forget Golden Ticket Cinemas for all of your cinematic adventures, formerly Brassfield Cinemas. And let's not forget, last but not least, Scotty the Body Springer for all of your entertainment needs when it comes to DJing and, of course, just like photo booths and things like that for weddings, special events, work functions, the whole nine yards. You can see him at topropeentertainment.com. That's right, topropeentertainment.com for Scotty the Body Springer. This is your boy Brian, aka El Nino, aka the Hawaiian Shirt King of North Carolina. And today I'm joined with
Jordan, aka Baby Knife.
Heyo. So we are going to be bringing you a nice little double feature this evening. In the last 4 days, we have seen 28 years later, and we are a little late to the game, but we finally had a chance to see Sinners, thanks to my beautiful daughter as a late Father's Day gift. Took me and Bailey to go see Sinners last night, so we're going to be talking about both films. We're going to be starting off with the newest of the two films, because I heard that Sinners is actually going to be on HBO Max, or Max,
July 4th.
yeah, July 4th weekend.
Yeah.
So, we get to bring that to you. I always love being able to bring previews when things hit streaming because we know not everybody has the time and Lord knows the money to go to the theaters. So, also, quick
Yeah.
reminder out there on Tuesdays, Golden Ticket Cinemas does 575 movies, I believe, and these are brand new movies as well. And then on the weekends throughout the entire summer, they're doing the kids series where you can go to the movies for $1 and then get popcorn as well as a soda for $5. So be sure to
Nice.
check out the Golden Ticket Cinemas website for all of the upcoming features and things like that. So, Jordan, you are just wrapped up and you got a day off on
hmm
Thursday. So, you and some of the crew got to go see 28 years later. So, give me your thoughts. Let's just kind of start there and go from there.
Okay. Um, I liked 28 Years Later. I okay, I've seen the first one. It's been a while since I've seen the first one.
Hmm.
Well, we watched it. I watched it the first time with you like maybe 2 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, my memory of it is pretty vague, honestly, but I've seen the first one. I haven't gotten the chance to see the second one 28 weeks later.
Hmm.
So kind of went into this one with no expectations.
Okay.
Well, I won't say that. I'll say some high expectations just because the teasers and the trailers were so good.
Real good.
And that poem that I wish I knew the name of that,
Oh,
is being
Boots.
performed. Yeah.
Yeah.
The wartime poem that
Hmm.
was actually used to kind of, I guess, prepare soldiers psychologically for war and whatnot. That those teasers and trailers are so good that poem just I love that with the editing and whatnot. So I was really excited going into it, with some decently high expectations, but still like didn't know what to expect at the same time. But I really liked it. It was just like anything. I'm not gonna lie, like anything that is new, as in like original content, as in not a remake, not a sequel. Well, not a unneeded sequel, I should say.
Mhm.
But anything that's like, yeah, anything not a remake already has at least 3 stars for me because I love to see something new and fresh and original and not just like regurgitated money grabbing movies over and over again and like
Right.
live action remakes are great, whatnot, whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm so sick of so anything that's like got is different, I'm already gonna give like 3 out of 5 stars minimum because I'm so happy I'm consuming content that's not just thrown up
Sure.
from
Sure.
old stuff or like, just it's nice to see original stuff. So, and this was very stylistically, this was a wild, movie from the editing to the cinematography,
Hmm.
the creatures, the zombies, the fat naked zombies,
Yeah.
like the alphas. It was a wild ride through and through. And so I love that. I loved that like I could not have guessed anything that was happening
Right.
or
Okay.
anything that I was gonna see when I came into that movie. 'Cause I just
Okay.
thought, oh, you see some. I remember the zombies are really fast, so they're gonna be really fast. Well, no, there's a lot more going on in this movie, as far as like the big zombie like bloater type zombies, and then the alpha. And I love the creatures. I love the moments too that were like the cinematography was very like surrealist,
Hmm.
like when the father and son were like trying to get back across the water and like you see like the galaxy behind them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like jarring, like
Yeah.
because it's like doesn't fit in this world, but it's so cool to me. At the same time, it's like undeniably beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
It reminded me of like those kind of shots that they did reminded me of like maybe the lighthouse, yeah, like where
Yeah.
it's just like really artwork like moments here and there, which I really like too. The editing was something that when the movie first started, I hated it. I was
Yeah.
like, what's it's just a lot. It
It's
was a lot
rapid
going
fire.
on. And it's
Yeah.
like shot angle, different shot type. And but it like I don't know how, but it just like grew on me as it went on. I guess because it stayed consistent with it, so you kind of like sunk into it and got used to it.
Mm.
Because I ended up liking like it was a lot of the action shots or like do the bow and arrow, and then
Yeah.
the arrow goes through the body, and then it's like shot angle, shot angle.
Right.
They show it from like 3 angles after it
Yeah.
goes through, and that's something I've never seen before, like
Yeah.
in a blockbuster movie be done.
Yeah.
And so I love the editing was really, really kooky and crazy, but I liked it. Again, it was just different. Yeah, so I liked it really because of that. It was a good the performances were really great. Um Jodie Comer is one of my favorites from Killing Eve is my favorite show of all time, and
Mm.
she
And
was awesome. She
which
was
one
the
was she?
mom that was
Oh
yeah.
yeah. I was
Hmm.
wondering where I knew her from.
Yep.
Okay.
So she was awesome. I mean, the kid was awesome. What's his name?
Oh,
Kick
Aaron
ass.
Taylor
Aaron
Jansen.
Taylor. Yeah,
Mhm.
great.
And of course Ralph Fiennes is
Oh,
he can do no wrong.
I loved him. I
Yeah.
loved his character so much. It was so unexpected to me. Yeah, like whole that his whole part, where you meet him and with the
Yeah.
mom was way more sad and moving than I thought anything would be in this movie. I cried. I shed a couple
Really.
tears.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the mom and spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. The mom and, putting the skull on top and like turning it to face the sunrise. I was like, "Oh my
Hmm.
God." And Ray Fiennes, his character is just so like I don't know. It was like that whole scene just kind of throws you for like a little emotional roller coaster. I was very emotional to me.
Yeah.
So I loved his character and I loved the whole temple of skulls and
Yeah.
like what it means to him and like how he's trying to honor like all these people that have died and
Yeah.
trying to help people along the way. I loved his character. I will say I do not know why I guess he just loves people that much, but why he was just hanging out and letting the alpha roam his property. He was like,
Right.
"Oh, this is
Yeah, this is
John,
Samson.
this
Yeah,
is Samson.
Samson.
This is his third time around. It's
Yeah,
whatever. And then they just tranquilize him and walk away. I'm like, I get that you love people and this used to be a person, but like,
yeah,
he will rip your literal vertebrae and skull off of your body. And
yeah,
almost did do that. So that was crazy. That was a funny moment to me that
yeah.
he was just like, oh, this is Samson. And he's just like slumped over in a nap. But yeah, I liked it. I'm excited to rewatch it already.
So this one for me, I do want to watch it again. I went in opposite of you. I love 28 Years Later. Absolutely love it. You know, that was,
Days, you mean?
or sorry, 28 Days Later. Thank you. Killian, is it Killian Murphy?
Hmm.
I thought was just great. I thought I really liked the editing style. Danny Boyle reminds me a lot of Guy Ritchie with their editing styles a lot. Especially when it comes to some of the action sequences and things like that. And then 28 weeks later, I really enjoyed. Like a lot of people didn't like it that much because Killian Murphy didn't come back and Danny Boyle didn't have anything to do with it really. I think he was an executive producer, but that was about it. But it also has Jeremy Renner in it before he became Hawkeye, when he was still doing like these little side roles. And I thought both the first two films were incredibly terrifying. So for me, this one, even though I felt like the gore was up there in terms of like blood and guts and stuff like that, I felt like I was definitely more terrified and like my heart rate was going up in the first two films than this one. I did feel that the editing was all over the place. It almost gave me Beetlejuice vibes because I felt like they were trying
No,
to cram. I mean, it wasn't
I
that
didn't like
bad.
that movie. That
It wasn't
movie's
that bad.
terrible. That movie's
Yeah,
terrible.
it wasn't that bad, but at the same time too, I felt like they gave us little tidbits of the stories. Like I wanted to know more about the village itself, and I wanted to know more about Fine's character, and honestly,
Me
a little bit
too
more
for
about the
that.
evolution. Like, yeah, as time goes on, things definitely will evolve. You have the alphas, and then you have like the crawlers, I think they called them. Which was a little bit kind of strange to me. I'm like,
Oh,
how
it
did
was
they
very
get so
strange.
fat in the first place? Because there's not that much. Like the first one you see is eating worms, and like even when you see like the little kid ones and this, that, and the other, like they're
It
all
was
like
strange. It was very
fat,
strange.
and I'm like, you're moving ridiculously slow, and there's not that much stuff around to eat. So I don't get that, but I definitely get, because I mean, especially in nature and wildlife, and I remember reading something about it to where Danny Boyle and Alex Garland were like, how have animals evolved? Like how has that happened where, yes, like in wolf packs, like there is an alpha and things like that. Like that I totally get. And the alpha kind of, showing their might or whatever, and their thing, whether if it's an animal or a human, is completely ripping off that thing's or that person's head. And as soon as you see, like, I think it was like a deer or a moose or something, the head on the
Yeah.
tree, that's when he was like, oh crap, there's an alpha around here. So I mean, that element definitely brought like a little bit of fright to it, but I just wish they would have done more. Like I really felt like my and again, I'm much better now for those, and I think I brought this up in the last couple episodes. My blood pressure and everything's fine, but I never really felt truly scared or terrified like I did the first two films, especially the first film, which I mean, it's hard to repeat that sequel after sequel. I get it. It's not like every single Jason movie is incredibly terrifying, Nightmare on Elm Street, so on and so forth. They do kind of become predictable. But this one, I did feel the editing, and I know that they tried a lot of different stuff. There was a rig that had, I believe, like 15 or so
It was
iPhones
a
on
lot
it.
of iPhones. It was more than
iPhones, and
that.
then they had all these different setups, which reminds me of like when they first did the Matrix special effects, when Keanu was doing that thing. Like that was revolutionary at the time. I respect Danny Boyle for trying new things, but I don't feel like anything he really did was revolutionary. Like the slow shots on some of the kills, as you mentioned, were cool. But again, at that point, I felt like I was watching more of a Guy Ritchie. Not really, everybody calls them zombies, but it's a rage virus, like a Guy Ritchie version of this film. Not really what I came to expect. So I think because you went in low expectations, you enjoyed it. I went in super high expectations. This is one of my top films of the year to go see, and it just didn't do it for me. I will definitely give it a second watch. Going in just even keel, but I do feel that they
Hmm.
try to do a lot. Now, I also found this out that I believe in January or February, so they film back to back films.
Yep.
So then we're going to have, I think it's the Bone Temple, which is going to be more on Fine's character and that background, which I'm interested to see. And before we get into the grades, can we talk about, the beginning started off hardcore. And I will say this. This is why you and I have had this discussion over and over again. Movie trailers can give away too much. I
Especially
feel
horror.
like if you watch the movie trailer to me was more terrifying than the actual movie. The chant that we were talking about is from a poem called Boots by Rudyard Kipling. I'm sure I butchered that, but it was first published in 1903 and it was intended to convey the maddening monotony of soldiers marching. The direct inspiration was the hundreds of miles British troops were forced to march across southern Africa in the Second Boer War around the turn of the last century, according to Kepling Society. And it is like I remember seeing the trailer, and I was like, that poem,
It's an awesome
and
trailer.
it's the build up, right? The
It's
build
so
up
good.
of the poem. It's probably one of my favorite movie trailers of all time for a horror movie.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, I felt the trailer was better than the movie itself, and everything that you wanted to see was already in the trailer.
I think I only saw the teaser for this because I'm about to like make it just a philosophy of my life where I'm about to stop watching trailers.
Yeah.
I'm about to be a teasers only girly.
Yep. Yep.
And like or if somebody watches a trailer and like is like don't, and I trust them that there's not okay, maybe I'll watch it.
Yeah.
But like I'm about done watching
Yeah.
trailers as a whole, especially for horror because like horror movies rely so much on like
The
shock
surprise element.
factor
Yep.
that like you should not be showing anything.
Yeah.
Really, you shouldn't be showing anything.
Yep.
Like just the build up kind of a little bit. Like I don't want to see any kills pretty
Yep.
much. Maybe one, but like I don't want to see even like they do like the flashes of like
Yeah.
impact or something. And I don't want to see any of it. I
Yeah.
want to be surprised by like what they're gonna do with the gore, like who's gonna die, this, that. I want to just
Right.
be totally blind. So I'm about to stop just watching trailers.
Yeah.
But I will say, I mean, 28 years later is definitely one of my favorite teasers as well, just because that, again, that poem just can't be understated how like impactful and powerful
Oh, it was
it
great.
comes off. The poem and like while it was a great teaser, it didn't really reflect the movie.
Right.
They kept trying to make it, and I didn't like this was part of the, I liked a lot of the editing, but a part I didn't like was like put uh inserting cuts of like archers and like soldiers and stuff because it wasn't
Right.
connecting with me because we, like you said, we didn't get to see like if that's trying to tell us that like this is what the town operates like or like the
Right.
fighters or whatever, we didn't get to see that.
No. And they
Like
have
we
like
didn't get to
those
see that
masks
they're like
and
soldiers that much.
exactly. And you see these like the masks that I guess the teachers are wearing,
Oh yeah, I don't know what
but
that
you
was
don't know
either.
what they're wearing it for. And I
I
respect
guess
the
we'll
fact they
find
were trying to
out.
do that. And what was crazy to me is the fact that Danny Boyle actually used clips from 28 weeks later and not 28 days later, where the sniper was on the roof, which is what
Oh.
Jeremy Renner's role was. So there was more clips inserted from 28 weeks later than there was from
Hmm.
28 days later, which was very interesting to me. But yeah, just like you said, for a poem about that, it definitely didn't reflect that
No.
at
You
all.
got to
Now,
see in the beginning, like the whole intro is about kind of showing you the the village, but it wasn't showing you. It was just
Yeah.
showing you that, hey, we're in a village, everybody has a role,
Yeah.
but we're not going to show you any of that except, the boy and the father going out and then the watchtower people. That's it. But like it wasn't that like soldier slash army vibe
Mm-mm.
wasn't there.
No.
Like even for like yeah, it just wasn't it I don't know. It didn't reflect it's still an awesome trailer. That's it.
No.
I
And
like the
like I
movie,
said,
but
I mean, it's top five for me. It hooked me in, and I was like, oh my
right.
gosh, they are going to do no wrong on this film. And again, I think because you went in low expectations, I'm not trying to speak for you, but I went in super high expectations, which is why I got to work on. I got to keep going in even keel because when I'm even
Hmm.
keel, then I enjoy it a little bit more.
Oh
So
yeah, for
you know,
sure.
let's and again, spoilers ahead. Then we get to the ending
Ugh,
which it
yeah.
ties in the beginning of the movie because I was like, all right, this kid's gonna come into play, and the whole time I thought the kid was Aaron Taylor Johnson,
Oh,
for a little bit, and then he wasn't, and then at the very end you see the little kid with his parkour rage fighting
sisters.
army,
Yeah.
with his haircuts and the
They look
jumpsuits.
like the tracksuit mafia from Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah. Is that a shout out to Jeremy Renner? Who knows?
that was yeah.
It was very, very interesting. And then you see the cross and then he says Jimmy, but I was just like, what in the shit did I just
Yeah. I really love the movie, but the ending was one of the worst ending. I mean, it was just like one of the strangest. The tonal shift just was super jarring. It was just
Yes.
super jarring. And I can do a tonal shift if it's like in the middle of the movie or somewhere else. Like Barbarian, that worked for me. Barbarian,
Yeah.
there's a big tonal shift right in the middle of the movie where you're
Yeah.
like, what?
One thousand
What
percent.
happened? I
Yeah.
love that because then they play it out and it all comes together to the same point at the end.
Yeah.
But the end was just like the last five, no, not even the last like 3 minutes was
Yeah.
just like, what?
It
What
was
movie is
almost
this?
it was
Like,
almost like uh um the director and the writer like remembered like, oh shit, we need to tie
yeah,
in Jimmy here at the
yeah.
end. Like
No, that's
let's go
exactly
ahead,
like what
let's
it
go ahead and
was.
film this and we'll throw it in at the end.
It was exactly like the most exaggerated version of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it
Like they were like,
was
oh crap, like how do we tie in the little kid from the beginning of the movie? Okay, we'll just they have tracksuits and
they
they're
know kung
fighting
fu,
and
uh
yeah. I was just like,
and they
at
recruit the
that
little
point too,
boy
I was
like
already like, man, I'm not really feeling this film. And then that happened, and that just solidified it for me.
yeah, the
Like
ending was
I was walking out of
bad.
theater, and Ash was like, what did you think?" And I was like, "I think
Don't
that
talk to
movie
me.
was trash." So let's before we get to Sinners, let's go ahead and give it, your score out of five.
I'll give it a 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I was debating giving it like a 4.2, but I think just a 4. Yeah. I feel like I trust my rating more after I've rewatched it at least once,
Sure.
but yeah, I think a 4. I
I
really,
want.
really enjoyed it up to the last 3 minutes.
I was struggling,
Just be
probably
real, be
about 30
honest.
minutes in. And I'm going to be honest, this is probably one of the lowest scores I think I've ever given a film. I'm going
It happens.
2.5. 2.5.
Okay.
And I'll say this. I can't wait to rewatch it. I'm not going to pay for it again. I want my
Period.
$60 back. Me, my wife, the tickets, the food, the popcorn, everything else. Streaming, you can, things get a little bit more leniency when you're streaming because even though you think it's free, you're still paying for it, but you're paying $10 a month,
Hmm.
So I will watch it again when it does hit streaming, and I hope that my opinion changes a little bit. I don't think it's going to go up to a 4 by any means. And who knows? Maybe when they come out with the Bone Tower,
I
Danny
hope
Boyle
so.
is like, I wanted to do this because I'm trying to extend this universe a little bit, which is fingers crossed what I'm hoping for. Because I just felt like it was just sloppy. And I think that's the best way I can say it as far as the editing goes, plus the story. Now the acting was great. I'm not trying to take anything away from the actors. And Alex Garland and Danny Boyle are at the top of their game, when it comes to most other movies. I just don't know what the hell was going on with this one. And I hope that it's just part of a bigger plan.
I
I
mean,
really
it
do.
is. It is. I just hope the rest of the plan is good. That's the sad part, is like
Yeah.
the last 3 minutes, I was like, oh God, these sequels are gonna be terrible.
Yeah.
Because I hated this last, I was
I'm
like,
not I'm not going to be running out the Bone Tower. I
mm.
so I got a free, I don't know if you guys cuz we went to Ames, or no, it was
I
a
did. I
Regal
got the
Theater.
free poster.
I literally returned the poster.
You walked back in
I
and you,
Well, no, I mean, I didn't like we didn't walk out like the side exit. It was still the same exit, but I went back to the table
oh, you
and
got it when you first
returned.
came
Yeah, I
in,
got it when I
and
first
at the
came
end
in.
of the movie, you put
I
it back on the table.
literally returned the poster to the
Oh, that's so
table.
funny.
I
That's
was
so
like,
funny.
yeah, I'm not gonna put this up or frame it or anything. I don't even want it
Yeah,
autographed at this point. Yeah,
that's so funny.
yeah.
But
I
there's gonna
instead
be
I got posters for Hattie.
the two sequels. There's gonna be like posters that all the posters are gonna connect and be
Yeah,
like one piece,
I
which
know. Now
that'll
I'm
be
gonna
cool.
regret it, but that's how upset
I
I was
got
after the
one, so
movie. I was like, yeah, I don't want this. Do you have
should
any
have
more Lilo and Stitch posters?
should have crumpled it up.
No, I wasn't that mad. I'm not going to disrespect people because you know how it is. We're being honest. Before, if we didn't really enjoy something, we just didn't talk about it. We're 7 years in now. We're gonna tell it how it is, and at the same time, a lot of
Yeah.
people worked hard on this movie,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's nothing against Alex Garland and Danny Boyle.
It's
If
just
you're
taste.
watching, it's
You're
just
just
taste, and this just
yeah.
wasn't my cup of tea by any means.
Yeah.
All right, so that's gonna do it for our little review of 28 years later. Now we
We
are
can
gonna
take
go
the
to
I was gonna say we could
Sinners.
take the Jimmy ending of 28 years later, Jack O'Connell and Bridge over because that is Jack O'Connell
Oh, so
at the
you
end
were
of
you were right.
Sinners. Yeah, at the end of 28 years later, he's
Wow, so he's
Jimmy.
had a good year
And
so
so
far.
we can bridge over to Sinners where he is the villain
So
in
again,
Sinners,
spoilers
Remick.
ahead.
Remick.
Jack O'Connell plays Remick, right?
Yep.
In
Sir
Sinners,
Jimmy Jr.
or Jimmy Jr. And he does a fantastic job. I'll go ahead and kick this one off. I feel like I always force you to start. So I'll start on this one. So this was a late Father's Day gift. I was out of town. My daughter was on set doing a movie with our good friend Phil Blattenberger, as well as Richard Brake,
hmm
right?
Is
And
Phil's last name Blattenberger or Blatten? I think it's Blattenberg.
Blattenberg. Sorry.
Okay. There
You
we
know
go.
me. I like to butcher names every
Oh, I
every
do it all the
episode.
time.
Yeah, at least once or twice. It keeps me honest.
Yeah.
So
We're real
yeah,
people.
Phil, thank you for all you've done, and we're all
Yes.
excited for this. Jordan was on set for 3 weeks out in the Rocky, was it Rocky Mount or Mount Airy?
Rocky Mount.
Rocky
Like
Mount.
right outside Rocky Mount. Yeah.
Yep. So so we went to go see Sinners last night. We've all been excited about this. Obviously, the reviews have been fantastic. And I will say I really really enjoyed it. It kept me in it really from beginning to end. Even though the beginning was a little slow, but it helped build up the story about the twins, Smoke and Stack. And let me tell you, I felt like Michael B. Jordan. It's tough when people play the same character. And there's very few times, and especially twins, where it's done well. Tom Hardy did it in Legend, and it's fantastic. Legend is a super underrated movie
Mm.
about actual real life twin brothers, the Cray brothers, which were pretty much like the equivalent. Like, imagine if Al Capone had a twin brother in London, and that movie is phenomenal. And him playing the twins was fantastic. And Michael B. Jordan did such a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
You would have thought that he actually had a twin brother. Like, they played great brothers, but completely kind of different personalities in a way,
hmm
but still very, very like, we're they take care of their own. They take care of their
Yeah.
family. but you could see the differences in terms of Smoke and Stack, which is their names. But just being in that 1923 Jim Crow era down in Mississippi, you felt like I felt like I was there, plain and simple. Like this reminded me a lot of the very first episode of Watchmen when they did the Black Wall Street massacre.
Oh,
Just as
wow.
far as the production and everything, it was top notch. I mean, Ryan Coogler, am I saying
Yeah.
that right? Is just such a talent, and I tell you, Disney, if you don't have this man do the Blade movie, something's wrong. Something is wrong. Like, don't do a Blade
Something
movie
is
unless he's
wrong
going
at
to do
Disney forever,
it.
period.
Yeah,
Anyways,
true,
that's another
true.
podcast.
That's another podcast for another day.
Something is
But
always wrong in Disney Marvel Land. Anyways.
exactly, the performances were great. The music, I will say, especially the scene where the cousin starts playing and it blends, and there's the story of where there's sometimes that there's a musician so talented that he can bend kind of space and time, things like that, where you start seeing the break dancers and the guitar players
The
and the
bridge between,
DJs.
yeah.
It was something I've never seen before, to be quite honest with you. And for someone that I grew up on vampire movies and I love vampire movies, this wasn't really a vampire movie. This was more about like the struggles of the South, especially during that time. And then vampires were just kind of thrown in there. Not, I don't mean that in a bad way, like thrown in, but it was really
They were a
more.
device, like a,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So it was a device to where you don't just see the struggles of African Americans during that time. You throw in this element of vampires as well because Remick does such a good job being like, "Hey, listen, and I really do feel that even though he was a vampire, that they were all one people at the end of the day. Like that's something that he kept preaching and preaching and preaching. Now, at first I was like, how is it that he knows this music and everyone that he's changed knows the music, but then you start to learn that pretty much everything he knows they know, and then vice versa.
Hmm.
So that's what started to make sense to me, because at
Yeah.
first when they were playing music I was like, so he just happened to stumble along two people that just so happen to know these songs.
No, yeah,
And
it's like a hive mind type thing.
yes,
When
yes, yes, yes. So yeah, great soundtrack. I felt the pacing was great. When it starts to hit the fan, I was super, super invested. And just the difference that Michael B. Jordan made playing the twins, I thought was great. And the extra credit scenes, the bonus, the mid credit, and the even the final credit, I thought were just great. So that's just my opinion on Sinners. Jordan, what are your thoughts on it?
I liked Sinners. I hate when I wait this long to see a movie this big
Yeah,
because like the expectations get all confused and you've seen
sure.
so much online and like so many opinions already. I hate that because every time it kind of ruins the experience a little bit for me.
Hmm.
Um, because I feel like I've already seen it but it's just through like social media pretty much and just
Right.
my film friends. So I liked it. I didn't love it. I wish it was, but selfishly, I just wish it was more frightening. It was like
Sure.
yes, it's a horror movie, but you know what I mean? I don't know. Like, it wasn't super scary to me, but
Yeah.
obviously this movie was about more than just being a horror movie.
Right.
The themes are very deep and like intricate. I really appreciate like the obvious amount of passion and respect that went into the movie
Hmm.
from Ryan Coogler and like these stories and like the inspirations behind some of these characters are very real. I love the passion for that. And I love the concept of the movie. I love blending like using vampires and like creatures and like as like a thematic device along with like voodoo and stuff, which is, a huge part of the Louisiana, Black history and culture, as they were
Hmm.
saying.
Hmm.
Kind of blending all these elements with the very real things going on with racism at the time and Jim Crow. And
Yeah.
I love the blending of that. I think that's such a hard task to do. So I love the concept a lot of Sinners. And I kind of, anytime that I really like a concept, or when I notice that something has been written with like so much thought and like a deeper purpose, or yeah, like a deeper sense of purpose or passion, like Sinners, where it goes beyond its face value. I always like when I go on Letterbox for those kind of movies for that I love the writing, but I maybe didn't love the movie as much as I love the writing. I
Sure.
always say the same, I always have the same review little thing I write, and it's I wish this were a book. Um,
Yeah.
because I think Sinners would be such an awesome book, but I think that's
Agreed.
just me. Like I was an English major, and so I love to read and like I wish Sinners had an unlimited amount of time and pages it needed to like be fully what it is. Like
Yeah.
I would love to unpack, I would love to just see that movie unpacked even more than it was.
Yeah.
But obviously that they could have kind of done that, but they didn't, and so that was on purpose, and that's fine. Yeah, my brain just wants to like I love the themes so much, the
Yeah.
deeper themes, like the social stuff. That was like my favorite thing to study in college was like social justice themes in writing that I want more of that. But there's so much about social justice pieces about Black culture and stuff that I respect too that he made the choice like he's not gonna make this like a super 12 Years a Slave type thing. It's gonna be
Right.
like he wanted it to be like a fun horror movie as well.
Yeah.
And so I respect that. I just think if I'll just like if I, for instance, was handed the script, the way I would have made the movie would probably be somewhat different,
Sure.
obviously. But like, yeah, I liked it a lot. I think this would, I don't know. It's just in my head that this would be such a cool book. I almost hope I would. I know he's already said he's not doing sequels to this.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's been asked left and right every
Well,
single
I mean,
day.
it's one of
Um,
the highest grossing original
yeah.
concept films
And I'm so
in
glad
the
he's
last
not doing
15
a
years.
sequel because
Yeah,
that means he understands not everything needs a freaking sequel.
exactly.
Like original content, just
If
leave it alone.
anything, prequel,
Yeah, I'll take
because I would like to
like a
see
prequel.
more. And, for Remick, I gotta say, I don't think I've ever sympathized with a vampire this much since Keith Sutherland in Lost Boys. Like when he's talking and explaining everything, it's not so much like good versus evil. It's just like, hey, you get to live forever. And on top of that, too, the guys that sold you this place, they're going to come back tomorrow and lynch you and kill you. So I'm here to help you live forever. Like you can defeat all this stuff. Like we are a family. And then you see the scenes where they're singing and doing everything else. And it's almost like, it doesn't seem like such a bad idea.
Right. By
But,
the end, for sure, you're like, yeah, because then his brother's there, and then his maybe not his wife, but his partner and his deceased child is there, and you're like, oh, maybe you should do it.
yeah,
Like, but no, he's gotta carry out the prophecy and
yeah. And I mean,
murder those Klansmen as he should. So
exactly, exactly. And I mean, Miles Catton was great.
he
Definitely
was.
reminded me a lot of, and they may have got inspiration from it. And I think I have a couple of the CDs, like a lot of Muddy Waters, which is an old school blues singer, just
Hmm.
with the guitar and everything else. And then it was great to see him, again, spoilers ahead, become an old man and
Yeah.
things like that too, and just going against the grain, but it was to me incredibly entertaining. I don't want to say fun film, but I mean the performances were all great. Haley Stein, is it Steinfeld? How do you say it?
Hmm. Steinfeld.
Steinfeld, was phenomenal. Um, Omar Benson Miller, Cornbread, is fantastic, and I cannot say enough about Delroy Lindo. I have loved this man and everything. He played Delta Slim, and I think he's honestly one of the most underrated actors, not just African American
Who
actors.
is
I
that?
think so. He was the one that
Uh,
played Delta Slim, the one that was drinking with the
yeah, the drunk guy. Yeah.
harmonica. Like I feel like he's great in everything I've seen him
He
in.
was really good in this
I've
movie.
seen him
Yeah.
in Gone in 60 Seconds. He played Satchel Paige, I believe, and this was like before they made the movie about Jackie Robinson. This was like a HBO film. But he's just such a force and such a presence.
Hmm.
He's just phenomenal. And then they had, Buddy Guy, who's an actual blues singer, play the old version of Preacher Boy, which is great. And that's what I love about Ryan Coogler. Like he's very true,
He's a very conscientious
very,
filmmaker.
very.
Yeah,
And I mean, he wants to, he just wants to do it the
he's
right
real.
way, and
Yeah,
he wants to do it his way. And I mean,
yeah,
he's at the point now where, he's at that Spielberg, Scorsese level to where studios are just going to be throwing him money like, you do it, you get final cut, and we'll put it out there. And good for
yeah.
him. It takes a
I mean,
long
he had
time.
to. I don't know. The breakdown of, the studio deal is crazy. I don't know how he's achieved this ownership over his content because that's very rare. Especially, he's a pretty. I mean, he did Black Panther and Creed, but still, he's a pretty new filmmaker.
Mhm.
And that's rare to be able to finagle the studio bullshit to be like, I want ownership of
Yeah,
this, period.
yeah,
I would love to know more about, I would love to speak to him and be like, how did you actually do that?
yeah,
Because, yeah, only way, like, I want to be involved with the studio system because it does terrify me so much. All the nonsense that goes on would be his way. Like that,
yeah,
because he's paving a way for, like, he's showing other filmmakers, like, you can beat the system.
yep,
He
yep.
just needs to drop a tutorial because
Hard
how he
work,
did that.
hard
That's
work pays off, and that's the thing. I don't want to. It is rare. Don't get me wrong. Like I know Spielberg and those guys, they have deals to own their own movies afterwards. I mean, musicians now are finally starting to own their own masters for their music. And oh man, gosh, I forgot where I was going with it. But oh well, one thing that I was thinking about too is you would think like watching a movie. Most movies that you watch with vampires, like people already know what vampires are, and it's like you need this, you need that, you need this, that, and the other. Whereas Smokes, I don't think they were married, but baby mama or whatever,
Mhm.
she was the only one that knew about it. You think about it, 1923, not really any movies. A lot of people can't read, plain and simple. So it's just one of those things to where it's like, yeah, they don't really know what vampires are back then. Only
Mhm.
people that, would practice what she practiced. And it's
Voodoo,
not
yeah.
witchcraft or anything, but, voodoo. And she was from Louisiana, which is, especially New Orleans, very, very deep in
I hope that's the right term. I
voodoo and
think,
things like that.
didn't she use the term? I know the term voodoo was used,
And I
but
think
I
I
don't
think
know
his
if maybe
brother
it was
called
a
her a witch at
derogatory
one
way.
point, but yeah, it was
But
something like
yeah,
that.
they're
Like,
like
they kept saying
it's a type
magic.
of conjure.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
kept saying
And
magic. And yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. As far as grade goes, I definitely give it a solid 4 out of 5. I honestly can't wait to watch it again, especially now that it's coming up on, I think we talked about it, HBO Max or HBO, whatever the hell it's going to be called in a month,
mhm.
July 4th weekend. So very, very great film. Michael B. Jordan doing double duty. Like I
Yeah, he
said,
was great.
it was just phenomenal, hands down. Excuse me, what's your grade on it?
Like a 3.8. 3.8. I just I really liked it. I'm excited to rewatch it. There were the only, like, why I'm giving it not 5 stars is I think it's all like stylistic like preferences and things.
Hmm.
Yeah, like like if I were a film, I would have made different stylistic choices. Um just like what I like to see versus what, like, Ryan Coogler wants to put on the screen. But it was really good. I selfishly wished it was more scary.
I
Um
can agree with you on this. I would love to know, and this is where I feel like a movie does well, is when you want to know more and you want more. Not more
mhm.
as in sequels, more as in like I would love to know more about Remic's backstory and like but
Yeah.
with Remick and the indigenous people that were chasing him,
Mhm.
that whole thing.
I
You
thought,
notice too,
yeah.
like towards the end, like his hands got bigger, like he was more of like a Dracula kind of thing, and then they felt what he felt, but then at the same time it didn't affect everybody the same. But I
Yeah.
definitely would love to know more of the backstory of Remick and really what happened in Chicago with Smoke and Stack.
Yeah,
So it would have been cool,
that
and
would be
I agree.
interesting to
Like
know.
if they were to make like a series out of it, oh, count me in. You know,
Yeah, this
especially
would
like
be
I
it
said,
would be a great show.
I think this would be a great
Exactly.
prequel
Yeah,
leading up to it.
I'd
Like we
love
don't
to
need a
see it
sequel.
in
We
a
don't need a
show
sequel.
format. That
Yeah,
would maybe make like kind of satisfy like my want for it to be just more, like longer. Like
yeah,
I want to know more, but just because it is such a great concept and I love like all the cross-cultural intersections between
yeah.
like the indigenous people and the Irish and the Chinese community. Like
Hmm.
the that actress, I think her name is Lee Jun Lee,
Hmm.
who played
Yep, you're
Grace
right.
Cho. She
Yep,
was awesome too. She was definitely a standout performance,
he was
especially,
great.
and the climax, of course, she kind of sets off the climax. So she's great. And I'd love to know. There's a lot of content people have sourced about like how well researched and knowledgeable Ryan Coogler is about the history behind this movie and
Hmm.
the characters and why these communities are all involved because
Yeah,
yeah, like the intersections of everything is really cool, and I would love to see more of that because like that is not in our history books at all. Like the
yeah,
Asian community facing a lot of similar, I won't say the same, but similar plights as
yeah.
Black community at that time, and like having, in certain, I guess, states, maybe certain areas having a certain like camaraderie and community
Hmm.
over like being marginalized and not
Yep,
being white and Jim Crow. So
yep.
I'd love to see just
I mean,
more
and you know, a
about
lot of people
all
don't
of
know like
that.
they were instrumental in helping with the railroad system
Oh yeah,
here in the
absolutely.
U.S. And I mean, heck, I mean, we were never really educated on what happened in Oklahoma with the Black Wall Street thing, and really
Nope.
until you know, Watchmen came out,
Right.
and that was
No,
like, you know what I mean? It
yeah.
was one of those things to where well, that's not in our history books and things like that. So
There's
you know, it's
so much not in our history
yeah,
books.
yeah,
I, I,
yeah,
I like I like
yeah,
that Ryan Coogler is not afraid to expose that, and
yeah,
um, that's really like my biggest gripe with the movie. I want him to expose more. I
yeah,
get why he didn't though.
yeah,
Like again, it's also a fun horror movie, and I don't want him to have sacrificed that just to
no,
like make a history exposition because we have plenty of it. But at the
exactly.
same time,
But yeah, if they
I'd like
ended
to
up doing
yeah.
like a TV show with the events leading up to it, all in, all
Oh
in,
yeah, it would
you
be a
know.
good show. I would take that.
Excellent. Well, that's our reviews, little double feature for you 28 years later and Sinners. Again, thank y'all so much for listening to us and watching us on YouTube. Be sure to you know, like, follow, subscribe. Every little bit means a lot. It only takes about 10 to 15 seconds of your time. You can catch us on all your favorite social media channels. Like and subscribe for sure on our YouTube channel. As always, a big thank you to all of the places that we host our trivia nights and events at here in the Triad area. If you're looking for more info, you can go on Facebook and go to Greensboro Game Nights and Events. And of course, our website, popculturepodcast.com. Click on the events page for all of our trivia nights for those of you either visiting or right here in the Triad area. And a big thank you to our amazing sponsors, Sailfish Comics, three amazing locations here in North Carolina, Winston-Salem, Concord, and right here in Greensboro across from Best Buy. Yes Weekly, Zibster for our incredible website, Zibster. Be sure to hit them up for all of your website and SEO needs. And let's not forget Golden Ticket Cinemas for all your cinematic adventures, Nerd Bombers, the list goes on, but let's definitely not forget, last but not least, Scotty the Body Springer for all of your entertainment needs for any of your after work functions, weddings, events, the whole 9 yards. Be sure to hit him up. He travels all over North and South Carolina. You can see him at topropeentertainment.com. On behalf, on behalf, on behalf,
Sinners on behalf.
on behalf. That's my sinners. That's my sinners right there for
Yep.
you. On behalf of Baby Knife, this is your boy El Nino, aka the Hawaiian T-shirt King, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.